Hey fam, so, kind of a weird topic, but I think you might find this very interesting to kind of meditate and think on, okay? I came across this vegan activist post, and it said we should stop funding at the federal level animal agriculture and that all cow breeding should be ceased, which would lead to the extinction, aka eradication, of cattle, of cows. And this was a stated goal of these vegan activists. And I thought it was extremely radical of how many people supported this. So let's do a little thought experiment, shall we? So, imagine they succeeded in legally making it so that you are not allowed to consume cows, breed cows, and raise cows, and slaughter cows. And you cannot export cows. So imagine. Alright. They argue that it is inhumane to consume animal flesh. Okay? These are the radical vegans. And what I find really troubling is that it's very narrow-minded, because you can get a lot of products from cows. You can use their bones to make beads and bone broth. You use their skin to make, leather products, gloves, shoes, things like that. Even the gelatin that can come from certain critters can be used to make those gummy bears, right? You can find so many different uses beyond just meat and stuff like that from cows. And if you're in a poorer area and you slaughter a cow, you can get a lot of meat to feed people from that cow. Now, not to mention their milk that you can drink and make cheese from, you can make gravy from it. There's just unlimited. I mean, it's just so many parts of the cow you can consume. As you know, I like the heart is one of my favorite, and the cow tongue. So, again, what I find super strange is that they are not arguing for better living conditions for the animals. They are simply advocating that everyone cease consuming the meat, which is an extreme form of activism because it's so idealistic that it's impractical. If you live in a place with winter, you cannot harvest all year round, and now we have really learned that the supply chain is quite fragile, right? So you're depending on there always to be a good harvest. You're always depending upon there being water and people having time and energy to buy, just vegetables. So if we have mass fields of monocrops to now change the diet over to vegetables, natural habitats for animals would be eradicated. Now, again, the soil would become so depleted because it doesn't have the natural cow manure. Sustainable ranchers that are certified B corporations, they non-GMO, they pasture raise, their slaughter practices are humane, they're small scale, so they're kind of more connected to the animals, is very different than if industrialized, like Tyson with their chickens. It's pretty awful. Those companies are really terrible with their critters, right? The animals are inside in their own feces, they get injected, they don't have fresh light. A lot of diseases get passed around from the other cows to other cows and to humans, and it creates a mess. We know that it's very bad to raise animals in that way. And it's bad to have mega corporations having such a monopoly on the meat market. And again, if we look at, let's have small, sustainable ranchers sprinkled out in local communities, we could revolutionize the healthiness of the meat. Now, a factory farm cow is not at all the same quality as an animal that's been pasture raised, grass fed, and finished. Now, some people prefer the flavor of grain fed beef because of the fat marbleization than compared to the leaner grass fed beef, but you can really it's still delicious. I mean, the blood is really pure tasting and crisp and clean, and the animals, they have more exercise, so there's less fat and cholesterol and things like that. It's better for you. It's more of the traditional way in which we used to live. And the manure from a grass-fed cow feeds the soil, the bugs eat it, the flowers grow, the bees come, the chickens eat those things around it. I mean, it's just great for the ecosystem. But if you didn't have cow manure, not factory farm cow manure, because it's filled with added, like, just all the injections those cows get, it goes into a poop lagoon. It can't be used as much. But with a sustainable ranch, that feeds the soil and it's regenerative and it keeps it healthy for the worms, and you don't have to spray as much. So if you had the fanatical view of what some of these vegans have for their agricultural, you're going to have to incorporate a lot more of chemicals, which is going to hurt the groundwater. Now, I know that the factory farm has, when it rains, you get runoff from the cattle farms, which is a shame, but we can fix that with spreading out how and where we put these, livestock ranges. It's really fascinating to hear people argue for the eradication of a species because they don't want to see them get slaughtered in an inhumane way. There's a disconnect there. You're putting a lot of people's diets, their nutrition, in danger and their survivability if you think that everyone can just eat soy and, these highly processed, filled with additives and preservatives, fake meat, the mock meat. That is going to cause a lot of health problems in the future for people. They're very hard to digest. They can activate your irritable bowel syndrome. And it's highly impractical for the soil and for the natural habitat of the critters. You can have chickens and cows in the same field, right? You can do that. They feed off of each other. But if you have a straight, just so many fields of just vegetables, you're going to have to be killing a lot of natural animals that want to, sneak off with a little carrot or some cabbage. They're going to get poached, and like I said before in a previous video, those tractors are going to grind up those birds, and that's going to be a big problem logistically to handle when it comes to keeping all those natural animals out. And this is such an extreme view to me, where they want to call you immoral for eating a good high quality steak because the cow was killed, but them wanting to completely wipe out a species and make it illegal for you to have a cow and to eat a cow and to sell its products. They don't see that as radical. I mean, you don't have a right necessarily to take away a cow from off the face of the earth. Cows it's some of the best meat in the world. Alright, beef is just an amazing product. Cows are so gentle, and it's really easy. Like, you can walk in a field with some female cows, and you can take them and you can bring them into the slaughterhouse, and they don't put up as much as a dangerous fight. A bull, he can run you over a couple times, but not too many people eat. You have a steer. Once you geld it, once you clip off the testes, you can eat the meat. But these bulls, livestock, that is so integral to keeping your population fed. And most religions, besides Hindus, completely agree with meat consumption, right? Now, if you want to be a vegan by choice, by all means do it. If you live in a city and, you don't have to, worry about surviving as much because you're so privileged, that's fine. You want to eat kale and soy and rice all day, that's fine. But if someone wants to have a little bit of beans and a little tiny steak, that's great. Get mad at the mega corporations who do not humanely and, sanitize as much and pay their slaughterhouse workers really bad. Punish them. Okay? And don't punish the small rancher. Not all ranchers are the same. And you have to realize so many people in underdeveloped nations, they need meat. They got their sheep, they got their goats, they got their cows, their chickens. They have to eat meat to survive. There's so many people, and you can split up and divide meat. Okay, you got a chicken, you get a breast meat, you get a breast meat, you get a leg, you get a leg. We can survive, right? People cannot just have cabbage, rice, and potatoes and then be fully nourished. There's a lot of vitamins and minerals in animal meat. The the quality of the meat will determine the nutrient ratio. So it's very dishonest to simply say, and also the lifestyle, if you're active, you're going to need some meat, get some protein. It's very unhealthy to just rely upon supplements to get your nutrition. Cows have been with us since so long. They were brought over from Europe. They're such a valuable commodity that advocating for their extinction just because you don't like watching them get killed is very extreme. Instead, fight for legislation that will improve the lives of them. And it is strange to watch how some of these vegan activists, they rewatch bad slaughterhouse workers. There are really some bad slaughterhouse workers. But most people, I would argue, they get the job done. The animal goes in, it's done, we do what we have to do, it's the circle of life, everything in the world dies. You come in, you die. You can go out peacefully, you can come in peacefully. Again, revolutionize the way in which livestock is raised, but do not argue for the criminalization and the eradication of a species being eaten and consumed. To put people in jail for wanting to eat meat, to raise livestock, is very extreme. Especially when eating beef is part of human existence. Eating bison, eating giraffes. People will eat anything. So if you're going to ban eating cows, people will choose a different animal. They'll go from that animal to someone else. So what are you going to do? Just keep banning every type of animal till there's no animals left in the world to eat? What about fish? Right? What about, shellfish? You can't just go around not allowing people to eat it and then wanting those animals to go extinct. Again, it's very bizarre. It is very strange to fight for policies that are so fanatical that they don't make sense. And somebody eating meat does not support an animal being tortured, right? That is very strange. Educate people to buy from better producers. Learn how to read labels. Don't group people who eat a nice quality steak from a good company with those who eat from fast food. And most people who eat fast food, maybe they don't understand why that cheeseburger is only $1 because it's very low quality meat. Again, you cannot compare a $1 burger to a burger that's maybe $37 because the cow was just maintained much better. Again, people will always eat meat. They will always eat meat, and if all animals were gone, people would probably eat each other. There's just something about humans eating meat that we need, and we survive that way. So I argue, buy from better companies, push for better legislation, more transparency, but eradicating people's choice to eat cows is not going to happen, and it's extremely authoritarian and fanatical and dangerous for the amount of people who could starve from that. Again, let me know what you think.